Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to EFA 118 on this Sunday, July 19th. That's right, Sunday, July 19th. But that's not you, Poppy. That's the words of my daughter Eva the other day. I was driving with Eva, and then she's talking about the podcasts and how many podcasts are you at? And you're doing good. You haven't missed a day and that kind of stuff, right? Pep talk from my daughter, and she's 13 years old. And Eva is her grandma. It would have been she never met her. And my grandmother's name, my mother's name Madeleine is my daughter Madeleine, and my grandmother's name was Eva, EVA, and that's my daughter Eva. And so when she said this to me, and I started laughing. I go, "What do you mean?" And it's because she got into but that's not you. And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "In your podcast," she goes, "the way you talk and the way you come across, you have that face." Basically, I got a stern face. She goes, "You got that face, and you're like you're talking serious and all that stuff, and et cetera, et cetera." And she goes, "But that's not you." I said, "What do you mean that's not me?" And she goes, "Because you're always joking, like you're always funny and that kind of stuff." And I told you I'm the I love making up stuff for my daughters and et cetera, et cetera. We took them through a lot of journeys right through life, and it's me in the house with them, right? Do I get mad? Absolutely. Do I raise my voice? Absolutely. You're raising a family, you raise your voice, so I'm obviously not always happy, but that was her perception of this, right? Her perception of me, the podcast, and I explained to her. I said, "That's the business me. That's the guy that you don't see that sits around boardroom tables that negotiates and deals with legal and all that kind of stuff, right? The accounting and bookkeeping and blah blah with businesses." And I explained to her, like, I don't bring that home, right? Try not to bring that home, because I worked years in corrections and in law enforcement type facilities. And in the law enforcement field, or the enforcement field in general, it's a very negative environment, and a lot of people find themselves in divorced or separated families because they brought it home. So I've always tried to do that, and I was told that as very young officers by a few female officers, and I would listen to that, right? And a lot of the male officers too, and I tried not to bring it home, and it's hard sometimes. And when I started to bring it home, I changed career. That's what I did when I started to bring it home, and that's what I did back in 2003. I took a huge step in change of career because I started bringing it home. I started feeling it internally, and I'm an optimist. People who know me, the Anthony Robbins of the world. I'm an optimist. I am what I am. I try to find solution. With conversations come solutions. So therefore, when I started bringing it home back in 2003, that's when I left corrections and I went to Ministry of Training College University. And a year later, I went to Ministry of Labor Enforcement, all inside my business world, corporations and that. So that's what I explained to my daughter. I explained to her I don't bring it home. So I try not to bring it home, and I do have my serious conversation around the business table. I'm trying to teach them. I told them I'm tired of mentoring others, and I'll always mentor, but I need to mentor you guys more so, right? I do mentor a lot, and sometimes people don't take their mentorship pretty well, and I go and I need you to listen to understand, so that when I'm gone, at least you've absorbed and you can carry forward in your style, right? But you need a foundation to grow on. I go, they won't teach you this in school. Trust me on that. They won't teach you that in a lot of these things that I'm trying to teach you. And my wife, the same thing, right? So I explain that to them. So I try not to bring it home. And then when you look at that and you look at families, and I had a business friend of mine who talked about he had went bankrupt, completely lost everything. His wife knew, but his family didn't know. And I remember having a nice dinner and drink with him when we were in restaurants back in the day. And he was telling me that basically, like, without getting to the details, his family never knew. They never felt it, right? He managed it. And if you look in business, and whether it's government or whether in business, those two worlds, those two realms that I worked in for 27 years in government, over 30 years in business, from corporation to businesses, blah, blah, blah. When I look at that, a lot of the individuals that are like-minded, and they run their businesses and run their positions, run their governments, run the shit, run their life, run whatever, and their families don't know of the stressors, or they know of it or they know a little bit of it, but they don't take it home, right? They do not take it home, and that's why like you'll hear wives, I hear my husband talking on the phone downstairs sometimes, just screaming and that kind of stuff, because they're managing businesses, they're managing schedules, they're managing a lot of things, and they're dealing with legals and they're dealing with so it's not stuff you want to bring home. So that's what I explained to my daughter, right? There's a lot of people that can internalize and can function while internalizing, and they have peers that they can relate with and discuss things with and go into granular details with to vent, right? You need to release that steam. So there's certain individuals that are your you know what I mean? They're your partnership, they're your brotherhood, your sisterhood. Those are the ones you open up to, and those are the ones you discuss with, and because they're like minded, and vice versa, the sounding board on each other. So I go, that's where I take that. That's where I bring it, and that's where I go. And obviously, your mother. I have my conversations with your mother, right? Even then, for the most, a lot of part, there's stuff that I don't discuss with my wife, right? In full details and granular, because I feel like I'm taking it home, and I don't want to. So she gets to get all the important stuff and that kind of stuff. But the nitty gritty, the garbage, the toxic, all that stuff. Try not to bring that home, right? And I've always been that way. And my wife will tell you, like, he doesn't talk about that stuff because I don't need to, right? I don't need to. She knows the important stuff and the toxicities. You don't need to bring that home, and that's the importance. And I think that's one of the things that for me, the internalization, the sounding boards of like-minded souls that you can bounce off of, and they know that they know that everybody knows that 2, 3 in the morning, it doesn't matter if somebody needs somebody, they're there, right? Because it never gets called upon unless truly needed, right? There's no cry wolves here. It never gets called upon unless truly needed. So that's what I explained to my daughter, and that's why you try to have a happier household by doing so, right? There's times where I said, now you guys are getting involved in conversations at the conference table of the family, but for the first decade of your lives, there's a lot of things you did not participate in conversation-wise because you didn't need to be there, right? And I explained that, like, I saw this posted today on Facebook, and it was a brilliant post. And that post, the child's here, and out of the child was a snake's tongue, and that tongue continued the back of his head to the parent's tongue. And I won't mention the gender here, but it was a parent's tongue, right? And that parent's tongue was out of that parent's mouth through the back of the head of the child, coming out of the child's mouth and screaming, obviously doing something to a child that's looking down, walking away, meaning that is taught, right? That tongue that child has came from someone, right? And I remember in my lifetime, my daughters would say to me that this is years ago, and I'm talking a decade ago. My daughter said something to me, and I looked at her and I said, that comes from that child's parent, right? That comes from that child's parent, because the child does not think that way. And that's so true when you look at a lot of the bullies in school, and a lot of the individuals that toxify other children's lives in life. A lot of that comes from their parents. Hence the world we have now. Hence where we're at society-wise. And now we're ripping apart fabrics, right? Ripping apart fabrics. So if everybody found their sounding board, if everybody kept their toxicities outside of their household and kept their family strong in their upbringing, foundation, and surroundings for their children, so that they become productive members of society. If all that came into play, we wouldn't be in the world we are today, right? So it just valuable lessons to my daughter, who made me laugh, right? Who made me reflect on me and my podcast, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing, right? Like I told her, I said it's not a comedy show that I'm doing. It's not the maybe I should do that, but it's not the craziness that I come up with, and all the characters that I've created, and jingles and the whole 9 yard. And I got a lot of that created and made for them, right? For memories and their livelihood. But that's it. That's EFA today. It's a Sunday. They're calling for another storm. 6:30 this morning. I was out here. Man, the rain, the thunder, beautiful. I could have pulled out the acoustic. Would have been nice, but my wife would have probably hit the back of the head with it. But it would have been nice. The thunder, the rain was coming down so hard. Those in Ottawa will know what I'm talking about. That was at 6:30 this morning, and I think we're gonna get another one So, which is cool. I love that. Maybe I'll pull out the guitar now because it'll be in the evening when it does hit. Anyways, Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA 118, Equality for All, wishing each and every one of you a peaceful, loving family life, just nucleus. Those that don't have families, friendship, nucleus, find your own, right? Just sometimes it's just parallel paths, but just find your own and connect, right? And stay true to your values. Just stay true to your values. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, Equality for All.